thanks so much for coming to this. It's a real thrill to be back. I first came here 10 years ago to ADE to do the same thing I'm going to be doing now, which is the deconstruction. Just a little bit about myself. So my name is Oakenfull and I work at a school in London called Point Blank Music School as the head of education and curriculum, which means that I oversee all the courses. We have quite a few now. We have music production and sound engineering, music production and DJ performance, music production and vocal performance, and also music industry management and some radio courses as well. And yeah, I recently became an Ableton certified trainer as well, which I'm very proud of. What we're going to be doing today is a deconstruction. We're going to be looking at this track by Beyoncé called Break My Soul. Let's have a look at a few fun facts. It's always good to contextualize the track and just kind of find a bit of history around it. So it had 5 writers: Beyoncé, Tricky Stewart, The Dream, Jens Christian, Isaac Sen, and Jay-Z, and produced by the first 4 of those, so all of them apart from Jay-Z. Vocals, obviously by Beyoncé, sounding fantastic as ever. Released this year in the summer, 20th of June, back when it was really hot, and it came out on Parkwood, Columbia, and it's from her LP Renaissance. So what really interested me about this song was the style, and I think it kind of caused, kind of quite a lot of discussion, because it's kind of definitely harking back to that 90s house track. It's really kind of poppy. When I first heard it, I didn't really kind of get it, and then the second time I heard it, it was like, oh, this is so catchy, it's amazing, and really kind of slamming as well. Samples-wise, it's got a sample by Big Frida's Explode, which we'll have a listen to in a minute, and it actually says that there's a sample from Robin S.'s Show Me Love, but I don't think it is a sample, I think it's just an influence. So we'll have a listen to that in a minute. And I would say one of the biggest production features is the use of the Korg M1 piano and organ bass sound, which really was so sort of prominent in that kind of time, and you know, it's a real example of that kind of genre. Let's have a listen to the first sample. You probably saw a little bit of a clip of this actually in that video, but this is Big Frida's Explode from 2014.
Release your wiggle, release your wiggle, release your anger, release your mind, release your job, release the time, release your trade, release the stress, release your love, forget the rest. Oh, let's go, let's go, oh, let's go, let's go, oh, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go.
Crazy track. And then we've got this one, absolute stone cold classic from 1990. This is Robin S.'s Show Me Love. Cool, so that bass sound that you heard there, that is that kind of M1 organ bass, which we're going to be looking at in a minute. And here we go. This is the classic synth from Korg from 1988. That's the M1. I never had the M1. I had the next one, which was the O1W, but it had pretty similar kind of sounds. Does anyone recognise this door? For those that don't, this is Ableton Live, and I'm going to be using this to essentially kind of recreate the parts. I've also got a Push 2 here. It's the hardware controller. And this is made by Ableton and kind of works seamlessly with the software, and it allows you to kind of enter the parts in and also arrange them as well. So I'm going to be putting that in. I've also got a keyboard, a complete Native Instruments complete M32, and I've got a Korg Nano control as well, just which I'm going to be doing a little bit of kind of muting and things with. Cool, so let's look at the drums first. So I've got some sounds here. Seems to be sort of shaking the shelves. That's a kick drum. Got a clap, snare, another snare, another snare. So 3 snares and a clap. Got a crash sound there, crash cymbal. We've got a hi-hat, so close and open hi-hat. And then a 909 close and open hi-hat as well. Okay, so we're going to start off very simple. We're just going to put in a very basic 4 on the floor. So let's go for it. There we go, take the metronome off. And you can see there, it's recorded it in. That's 2 bars. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. Right, so there we go. Classic, kind of basic element of most house tracks. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to duplicate that clip there down onto some different scenes. So I'm going to do this from here. Just going to click on duplicate. There we go. And you can see I've duplicated it. So there are 5 5 of those clips now. If I now trigger the 5th scene, it's now playing that one there. And what we can do is we can start adding some other elements to it. So let's add some snare. And the good thing about this is that I can kind of play around, audition stuff. It won't record it, but when I'm ready to record, I can just put it into overdub and I can record something. So let's record some hi-hat now. There we go. So we've now got 2 different clips. So we've got this one with just the kick on its own, and then we've got this one with some extra elements. Okay, so in order to distinguish this new clip, this new pattern from the other one, I'm going to just do some sort of colouring. So let's just make that a kind of blue colour. There we go. And I'm also going to duplicate that down and then add some more elements to this. So let's add another, 2 more snares and another hi-hat. So let's record it in. And let's add this hi-hat in. Okay, so we've got that in. I'm actually going to double that loop to make it a 4-bar loop. And I'm just going to add this crash. And I can just use this using the step sequencer. So let's put that in. There we go. Right, let's do a similar thing. Let's give that a blue colour. There we go. Sort of tend to think of it as like housekeeping, just to kind of know where I am. Okay, so let's duplicate the first clip now down to the 7th scene. And don't worry if you're not following, because it may not make sense at the moment, but it will make sense as we start building up the sort of the jigsaw puzzle of the track. Okay, I'm now going to put in a 4th pattern. Let's put the metronome back on. So let's record that in. Nice. Thought I made a mistake then, but not. Oh, actually that one there. I'm just going to move that note there. There we go. That one there, that was the erroneous one. There we go. Great, so let's do the same thing. Let's give that a different colour. Let's make that green. There we go. And just going to finish this off now. I'm going to duplicate that one down and then also duplicate the blue one. There we go. So we've got 10 scenes now, 10 different clips, 10 different scenes. What I can do is actually trigger from here and you'll see that it's triggering these different patterns. So that's the first one, second one, third one, 4th one. Also worth mentioning as well that I've got record quantize on as well. So as I was maybe I wasn't playing perfectly in time, but Ableton Live is actually putting it in time for me, which is a very useful feature. So that's those drums sorted. I'm now going to add a couple of percussion elements. The first one is CR78. This is a classic Roland drum machine, sort of precursor to the TR-808 and TR-909. So I'm going to record that in now. Quite a sort of subtle sound, but it has, it creates a really nice texture. So again, similar thing, I'm just going to duplicate that down, build up the jigsaw puzzle, and then we're going to move on to a tambourine. So I've got a tambourine sound here. And there's a great feature of push, which is the repeat function. If I press repeat, I can just hold it down. It's just playing 16th notes. So let's record that in. Okay, now I'm going to solo that, and the 2nd and the 4th notes here, I'm just going to take the velocity down. And that's just going to give it a bit more of a kind of natural live feel. Can you hear that? I've just duplicated that down there now, so we've kind of got all the drum parts together. So now we're going to move on to some of the musical elements, or instrumental elements rather. And the first one we're going to put in is this sound, which is the organ sound. But before we do that, it's time to introduce a little bit of music theory. So I've got a little kind of virtual MIDI keyboard here, and also chord chart. One of the first things I look to do when doing these deconstructions is to look at the key signature, and the key signature is going to dictate which notes are being played and then also the chords as well. So this is in a minor key. Minor has generally got a more of a sadder feel, major has got a more of a happier feel. So like for example, that's major, that's minor. So this isn't in the kind of easiest of keys, this is actually in G sharp minor, which has got 5 sharps, so I'll play them now. But it could be, you could play A minor, for example, and there wouldn't be any sharps. That's kind of probably the easiest one. So it's just a semitone down from that. So now we know what the notes of that scale are, we can actually look at the chords, and we can define the chords on the degrees of the scale. So this is the first note, this is the G sharp up there, and if we play a triad, 1, 3 and a 5, it's called a triad, we can call that the 1 chord. If we do the same thing on the C sharp, which is the 4th note along, that's the 4 chord. So this song is really built on those 2 chords, kind of pretty basic, pretty simple. But for the second one, it's actually an extended chord, so we add a 7th. That note there, that B natural. So to make it a C sharp minor 7. Okay, so that's the main verse section, and then in the chorus, a bass sound comes in, and in the second chord, it plays an A, which is really nice. It suddenly turns that into an A major 9. And then down to, so yeah, known as a Neapolitan chord. They're the basic kind of chords of the track. Now I'm going to go back to the organ sound now, and what the organ's going to do is just play the bass notes, so the G sharp minor. And let's just bring up the plug-in that I'm playing. So this is the Korg M1 plug-in. It's when they brought this out, I think everyone just started kind of using it in lots of house tracks, so it maybe had something to do with its revival. That's the sound, and I'm going to record in. Now another thing just to mention as well, on push, you can set the scale on push. So these actual pads are only playing the notes that are in G sharp minor, or any scale you want. So I can play on here, or play on here. Cool, let's just hide this keyboard so you can see the notes. There we go. That pattern runs through the whole track. So what I can do is just duplicate that down to all the different scenes. And there's one exception to that, which is just in the last scene, scene 10. It's the same pattern, but there's just a bit of a gap before it. So I prepared that one earlier. We can now start triggering some of these scenes, and you can see how they're being built up. We're now going to go back to that piano sound, and we're going to record this onto scene 2, because it doesn't come in until the chorus section at the start. As I said, these are the 2 chords, G sharp minor, C sharp minor 7. It actually plays it in a slightly rhythmical way. I'll just play that. So let's record that in. Nice, so let's do a similar thing. Let's go back to the session view here, and let's just duplicate that down. There we go. So really starting to build the track up now. I mentioned earlier that the bass comes in the chorus section and it plays this A here. So it plays an A. So if I bring up a bass sound now, and we're going to record this on this scene here. This is where the bass comes in. Record it in. Right, so you can see that effect. If I play the scene before that, you can hear the bass kicking in. Chorus now. It's like they've kind of thrown everything at that chorus, you know, really to kind of build it up and make it huge. Okay, so there is one more section to put in, which is the middle eight. And the middle eight section is normally a break in the track where it kind of just goes to a different chord sequence, or it just provides some kind of breather in the track and then generally goes back to the chorus afterwards. What they do here is use this brass sound. I'm using another Korg plugin here, the Korg Triton. There we go. So really kind of deep down, great sound. So let's record that in and then you'll hear what it sounds like. Here we go. Great, and I'm going to actually duplicate this time. It's recorded in there. I'm going to duplicate it kind of horizontally so that the bass is playing that as well. So I'll play it now. Okay, so amazing. We've actually got all the musical parts now to this track. So what I'm going to do now is add some swing to this track. And I tried to explain this the other day without any kind of visual way of describing it, so I've actually put this together now to try to kind of explain swing. If we look here, if we think about a straight beat, we've got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and the numbers and the ands are kind of equal length. When we swing something, the numbers, the beats, last for a bit longer. So we have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So it's like a as opposed to, and so I've kind of represented that here as well with how it might look in the piano roll in Ableton. So what we want to do with this is kind of give it a bit more swing, and what that will do is just give it a bit more kind of bounce, a bit more kind of feel. One really cool way of doing that in Ableton Live is to use the groove function. So I'm going to choose this one, which is swing 16th, and it's 73, which is kind of the maximum amount. Just going to double click on that. And then I'm going to select all of the clips like that, there, and then add the groove just down there to swing 16ths 73. And what that's going to do is then apply that groove to all of those clips. And then at the top here, we have a global swing amount, just up here. There we go, a global groove amount, sorry. Let's just play one section. And at the moment it's at 24%, if I increase it, it's a bit extreme, but you can kind of see what it's doing. But it's really useful because it means I can keep everything kind of grooving together. So let's leave it around 20, 25, there we go. So now we've got the musical parts in. Generally, it's kind of customary with these deconstructions is to actually kind of listen to what the vocal might sound like. What I normally do is try to find an a cappella, or even better, get someone in to record it. Unfortunately, I couldn't get Beyoncé in to the Point Blank in London. That would have been amazing. But the next best thing is I've managed to find the a cappella. And the a cappella means when it's the vocal on its own. So let's have a listen to what it sounds like. Now there's kind of a number of different ways that you can get a cappellas. I just happened to find this on YouTube. Someone who kind of provided it already. There's lots of great software now available that you can actually take any track and you can extract the a cappella. Sometimes the artist makes the a cappella available as well. But let's have a listen to what this sounds like.
foundation. I'm looking for a new foundation.
It's quite clean. Let's go to the chorus.
And I'm on that, you won't break my soul. You won't break my soul. You won't break my soul. You won't.
So I've put that in and I've sort of split it up into the different sections of the track. So I can actually now play through the whole song with that a cappella, and I'll try to leave it on this here so you can see this is kind of the section of the vocal a cappella that's being used. I'm going to play through the whole track now. I'm going to do a little bit of muting as well just to kind of add some feel to it. So let's go. Here we go. Chorus coming up. Okay, the big Frida section. Rap section. Chorus. Okay, middle eight. Back to the chorus. There we go. So, yeah, that's kind of like how to very quickly analyze and break down the track and recreate it. Obviously, it's not perfect. I'm sure they mixed it in a big kind of SSL studio with lots of processing and outboard and everything. But what we're trying to do is just basically get the kind of fundamental elements. But yeah, thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Yeah.